Okay, so keep going. Right. All right. Sorry I was late. You can get the stoner jokes in. I'm always late. My name is Edward Fortune. I was actually born Robert Fortune. And I've attempted to change my name a couple times to NJWEEDMAN.com, and the state won't let me. But my activism, my advocacy for the legalization of marijuana actually started when I got arrested. It started face down on Route 55 in Belmar with a state police officer threatening to step on me. Let's see, but I've always advocated something called jury nullification. Who knows what jury nullification is? What is jury nullification?
Is like one of the jurors decides not guilty, it has to be a unanimous decision or something?
Right. Here in America, in our criminal trials, I guess you guys know, this is a criminal justice class? Criminal, okay, politics. All right, in most states, you have to have a unanimous jury to convict somebody of a criminal offense. In civil, it's not 9-3 or 6-3 in some places. But as far as criminal goes, you need 100% to put somebody in prison. And I always thought, I understood that if you had one person to hold out, that the prosecutor could just retry you and do it all over again. But I always thought that with marijuana, and I'm talking about since the early 90s, actually prior to that, without actually putting me in the mix, I always thought, well, wait a minute, most people I know think marijuana should be legal, or a good percentage of them think marijuana should be legal. I think I could walk into the most Baptist of Baptist churches and ask for a hand raise and say, who thinks that you should go to prison for marijuana? And it wouldn't get too many hands raised. So I thought that in the circumstances of a trial, same thing. If the question can be before the jury that the law is wrong and not I, then I would think there'd be members of the jury who would raise their hand and say, not guilty, even in the face of guilt. I had the opportunity to try that one out. Like I said, my activism started on Route 55 with me face down in handcuffs and a police officer threatening to smash my face with his foot. So right there, from the very beginning, I remember sitting inside of the Belmar State Police Barracks, and the officers questioning me. And as they gave me my Miranda rights, anything you say and do can and will be used against you, I always knew it could also be used for you. So right at that point, I started telling them that marijuana is good for me. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to tell the jurors that. No one's going to put me in a cage for this. Of course, they thought I was an idiot. But I knew the history of jury nullification and why we have the right to the Sixth and Seventh Amendment rights to a fair trial, to a jury trial, is because the founding fathers of this country, and actually back to England in the English common law, was that in order for the government to put you in a cage to take your freedom, that they needed the approval of your peers, your jurors. I was the first one arrested under this new marijuana law that made anything more than 20 pounds of marijuana a first-degree crime. And that package that I got arrested for was 39 pounds, and it made the newspapers all over the place. I'd never made the newspapers then. It made the newspapers all over the state of New Jersey that there was going to be, me, my brother, and this other guy were busted with 39 pounds of marijuana. It's a first-degree crime, and we were basically like going to be the pawns or the setup for this new law of Governor Christie Weedman. But I was like, nope, not me. And I started almost instantly. I created something called the Legalized Marijuana Party. I announced that I was running for Congress at the time. This was against Rob Andrews, and it was specifically so that I wanted my potential jurors to know what I felt about marijuana. I started, like I said, campaigning. I was publicly saying legalize marijuana everywhere and why. And the reason why I was doing that was because anything you say and do can and will be used against you. Well, I thought it could be used for me. If the prosecutor was walking around now, he had all these statements from me in the paper about how I felt about marijuana. I knew if we presented that in court, that there were people in my jury who would agree with me. Again, I felt like if I walked into a church, I can find people that would agree with me. So I felt, again, if I was on trial with 12 people, that I can convince them. So that was kind of my first step as far as getting publicity and advocacy. I just went on a rampage. I was smoking marijuana publicly. I don't know if Reed was there when I did it in the State House back in like 2000. I went to the State House. Again, I wanted these newspaper articles to talk about me. I wanted my jurors to go, that's that guy. You know, I want to be on the trial. So one day I went and I went to the Trentonian. I told the Trentonian that, hey, on Thursday at the next State House, at the State Assembly meeting, I'm going to smoke a joint in front of the entire State Assembly. You know, they were like, you crazy bastard, when? They grabbed their cameras and they were ready. And sure enough, the Speaker of the House, I forget his name right now, used to be the mayor of Hamilton. He got up and basically gave a sermon. He basically told everyone to take a moment of silence. When everyone else took a bow of silence, I pulled out a joint and started lighting it. I smoked about half of it. The newspapers talked about it. 2 state police officers, they happened to be all the way on the other side of the rotunda. I don't know if anybody's ever been to the State Assembly. It's a big round, like stadium type place. It's the state rotunda, they call it. And there's 2 state troopers. One was on one side, the other side, but they was all the way across the room. By the time they ran around and got to me, you know, I had like half the joint lit, and I popped it in my mouth, and I ate it. So they had no evidence, but I was on the front page of newspapers the next day. The Star Ledger had me in there. The NJN television had me on. It ended up making like national news. Man walks into New Jersey State Assembly and lights a joint. But to me, it was all part of it was like a method to my madness. I was trying to influence 12 people. At the time I did that, that was in March. My trial was scheduled at the time for like September. All right, so that was just one of the things I did to, I was trying to pollute the jury, trying to inform the jury about my feelings. Because I knew I was going to go to trial, and my trial was going to argue the fact that I felt the law was wrong and the jurors had the power to reject the law. Thank you. I forgot to say,